RTE. Now, before we talk about the extraordinary film we've just watched, I'm joined by two former Shipyard workers, Frank Higgins and Rodney McCulloch. So, first of all, tell us about your connection, if you can, with the Shipyard.
I worked in the yard for 20 years. I was a red letter, better known as a rough painter. And I got started in the yard. Like a lot of men, I come out of the army. I had no skill, no trade. I was on the brew, and my father-in-law says, "Look, I'll get you a job in the shipyard. Come down and get an interview." And I was going, "Doing what?" He says, "Listen, son, just say you're a red letter and you know me." And I went down, got the interview, which is a story in itself. And on the Monday morning, I started in the shipyard, and that was in 1982. Last time I seen my ship going up the log. And anybody who's a yard man here must know that. That last time you seen her going up the log, it was one of the proudest things I ever felt. And you know, you heard it in the film, people saying, "Well, my granddad painted the H and the horn and wolf, or my daddy did that." And that's the shipyard that I remember.
And for you, Rodney?
Well, I come from a shipbuilding family. My father spent over 40 years in the yard. The late John McCulloch, who was a painter, and my son Stephen served his apprenticeship in the yard as a welder. I'm now in my 61st year of association with Queen's Island, still going down there. And I started in the yard in 1959. Most of that time spent in the headquarters building, in the secretary's office, and then when the company was privatised in 1989.
Feels like it kind of captured the end of an era in a way. I mean, there's a lot of voices there of men who've been there a long time. So just tell us about the film, Rodney, from your point of view, and what makes this film special.
Well, I was actually tasked by Horton and Wolf with another guy who unfortunately is in Vietnam at the moment, Peter Baxter, who was the apprentice training centre manager, and we were tasked to help the late great Davy Hammond with the film. And I'll tell a story about Davy, which maybe I shouldn't.
Oh no, go on.
It's a bit of a confession. I'm not a great consumer of alcoholic beverages to his home up the Craigie Road. A preview of the film, and we arrived at the appointed time at 7:30. No sign of Davy Hammond, which apparently wasn't unusual. About 20 minutes later, his car flew up the driveway. Davy got out, all apologies, says, "I'm just in from Donegal." He opened the door of his house and said, "Look, would you mind giving me a hand with these boxes in the boot?" So Peter and I very gladly did so. We got into the house and sat down, and he says, "Well, just before we have a look at the film, this film, let's have we'll open one of these boxes," and he produced a punching. And he said, "I'm not a great consumer." So Peter and I had a glass, then we had another glass. And I'll be honest, I have no recollection of ever seeing that film.
But is it the first time you've ever seen the film?
Well, I did see it on television, but it was a privilege to work with Davy Hammond. And he was a brilliant guy. But there's so many, we've heard and seen so many nicknames from the yard. There's so many others that people here would know about, and maybe mention those later.
Now, did you have a nickname yourself, and can you reveal that?
I didn't. I had a nickname, but it was from school, and I'm not going to tell you what it was. Fortunately, it didn't carry over into the yard, so my hands are clean.
I brought this along today, and this was produced in 1985 by Horn and Wolf itself, and it's a short history of Horn and Wolf. And I bring it along because in the whole book there's not one mention of the men and the women who made these ships, because there was lots of women in electrical winding shops, in the canteens, in the offices, in the drawing offices. So there was no mention of the men or the women, or Titanic was mentioned once. And yet this wonderful TV company came along, and we didn't know who they were because we were RTE, which was those people down south. So the shipyard tried to stage manage who was going to be topping the RTE. So in the film you'll see it was the three top painters, Harry Laurie, Jim Woods and Joe Henry. And as you can see by our photographs, we are not the top painters. So from left to right you have myself, Gaddafi. On the next to me is Sammy Jamison, who is known as, I'm sure you'll be pleased to say that. Then you have John the Damps. John the Damps is the guy with the cap. John the Damps was the famous guy who ate a plate of spuds after getting most of his teeth out. We all still have a mental memory of that particular day. And then big Tommy Neal on the right hand side. Tommy's party trick, I don't want to offend anybody here, but Tommy's party trick was to wait until you get into a hut at lunchtime and you got your lunch out, close the door, and then Tommy would have emitted this awful smell and he would have cleared the hut in 30 seconds. So Tommy was known as foghorners. And that particular photograph that day was taken, you know, in Norman. And there's people there that are no longer with us, and this film is so important for that reason. And to emphasise that Harry Laurie is in the movie, and I bumped into Harry about 5 years ago in Ann Street, maybe longer. And I went over to him. I said, Harry, it's great to see you again. You know, I think he was with his wife. And, you know, it's great you're a little male. And he turned around and he says, son, you maybe know me, but I honestly can't remember you. He says, I hope you have good memories of me, you know. And I said, Harry, I have nothing but good memories of you. And that was my first sort of encounter with people who began to lose their memories. And that's why that film's so important.
Now, tell us about these photographs here that we're seeing on the screen, and who took those photographs?
So I was there the famous day of, I worked with a guy, well, I say I worked with, Barry McMinn used to go to the Shipyard. He was a famous footballer. Anybody know Barry? Yeah, I remember Barry. Well, Barry was also a famous sloper, as you remember. And I remember getting in one Sunday morning, it's a true story, we went to work one Sunday morning in East Yard. So you'd go in, you would shout your number in, the timekeeper. So Barry was up, I was up first, shouts my number in, you know, 43125. Barry comes behind me, he shouts his number in, but the timekeeper shouts out, hold on Barry, hold on. And it was Arthur Kearns who was the head timekeeper, and this was like a god. Arthur was the man, he never appeared in these boxes, you know. So he came out anyway, and this stage of the game was a few Shipyard men and gathered around, and he says to Barry, you're a good footballer, aren't you? And Barry goes, yeah, I am. He says, how far do you think you can kick a ball? And Barry goes, what do you mean, Arthur? He says, look, Barry, how far do you think you can kick a ball? He says, do you think you'll be able to kick it from here over to the building dock? And he goes, yeah, no problem. And he says, well, what about from here to the end of the building dock? Barry goes, no, what's going on, Arthur? He says, how about kicking a ball from here over to the oval? And Barry goes, no, you couldn't do that. He says, well, that's very funny, Barry. He says, because you were booked in here at 4 o'clock yesterday, and according to Belfast Telegraph, you scored a goal at 3 o'clock. Waldo was the last one. Waldo was my mate. He was Waldo, I worked with Waldo. He's a really good guy, and he was going to retire to the Isle of Man. His son had a motorbike shop, and he never made it. But that's the sad stories, you know, and it is sad, but there's some funny stories too. You know, I remember sitting in a hut one day whenever a phone call came down from the personnel, and the shipyard man, this guy comes in, he says, listen, there's a phone call here for Mr. Wallace Sellers, he needs to go up there right away. We're all sitting there. He says, who's Wallace Sellers? Never heard of him. He's a red letter. No. Waldo goes, Jesus Christ, that's me. He actually forgot his name, you know. My only other claim to fame is anybody who's a shipyard.
I mean, like, what kind of comes across in the film is like the noise, the sound, the smell of this place. I mean, what are your kind of lasting memories of working there?
Well, the film actually triggered some of those memories, and some of the reasons why, like Frankie, you know, I'm so proud to be associated with the yard. And one of those memories was the launch of the Sequest from the Musgrave Yard. And as the film said, the Japanese said it couldn't be done. So whenever the Sequest was being launched, I made a point of positioning myself on the Musgrave Channel Road beside a delegation from Japan, who were there to see Sequest topple over in the Musgrave Yard. It didn't happen. And just to watch the expression on those guys' faces, not a paint department promotion, but just to carry on from what Frankie was saying about working at heights of a mine. But one of the tasks my father had, my father was a master grainer, a glazier and a painter. One of his tasks working at height was to put in the glass in the control cab of the glass and Samson cranes, and he did it from the outside. Just think about that. And if I may let you into another secret from the yard, in a sense, and again the film showed an image of a yard launch, and the sponsor of the ship would release, would pull a lever, would release a bottle of champagne. And in the history of the yard, during my father's time anyway, that champagne bottle always broke. There was a reason for it. One of my father's tasks was to make a very fine incision in the champagne bottle, so that when it hit the side of the hull of the ship, it broke. Other yards in the UK, sometimes that didn't happen. It always did with Harland Roof. But just who worked in the yard. I spent most of my life at Harlands in the headquarters building, working with naval architects, working with accountants, and I was very much involved with the legal side, putting together ship contracts, engine contracts, ship repair contracts. So I worked closely with these guys, and they were brilliant engineers, brilliant designers. The one, maybe this is a bit of politics coming into, can be edited out if need be, but one of the, I think that the sad aspects to the yard was the fact that it wasn't given the opportunity to get involved in the cruise liner ship construction.
John Dempsey came from Tigers Bay. I think that speaks volumes. But John actually grabbed Bill Kirk by what's called the gills of the arse, pulled him over and said, "Right, son, you're taking photographs. Take photographs of four of us because we're red letters." And Bill did it, and it appeared in the book, but it also covered the long history, but it was about the people. And the same in the book, it's not about the great ships, and they are wonderful ships, and there's Titanic, and one of the sad things for me today is you go down to the Titanic quarters, it's known, that you can tell that Leonardo DiCaprio was there in the heart of the ocean, but there's nothing about those men who tramped up and down there for the better part of 150 years, and who lived and who died there. There's no plaques and memorials to the men who died there. Now, I know that doesn't maybe suit the local Northern Ireland tourist industry, but I think it'd be a really good thing to do. And it'd be a good thing to have a movie like this replaying in somewhere within Titan made this possible while you're here today, and it wasn't our fault that somebody run the Titanic in the iceberg.
Now, I was over on Botanic Avenue yesterday. There's a bookshop there called No Alibis that some of you may know, and I saw 3 copies of that book in that bookshop. So if you're looking for that book, you will find it. Now, can we hear from our audience if that's possible?
The Friday morning.
Ferry service over, I can't remember the name, but did a ferry service over for the workers? You know what type of thing? Back and forward.
From Alexander Wharf.
But there's so many stories I had to tell, and one of them was, I was on a cargo boat, that's what it was. I was an apprentice at the time to a fella, Jimmy Brady, and went out, and the captain says, I want you to do my accommodation. The boss says, no matter what he wants, you do it, So the captain says, I want you to do my accommodation. Oh, no problem, all that sort of. And then all of a sudden, rock and roll. Scottish Highlands and Islands. Do you know there's hundreds of Scottish Islands? No, I didn't know. But we had a storm, no rock and roll. And the water was coming right over the top, and back and forward and all that. And the captain says, hold on, we're going to the islands. So he went in amongst the islands, to hide from the storm. So the next day, a nice clean day, we're back, and I was in the apprentice in the shipyard, and Jimmy wrote down, the hours we worked and all that. And we square boxes and that's where you get paid, you know. You just seen a hand coming out, you didn't see anybody.
That's true.
And so he put it in, no time to work. And then next thing was, it came back out, hit him in the face. And the voice says, what's it got to do with us? Claim the Scottish Highlands and Islands. I swear to God.
Well, I think mainly around the side of the building, the big construction shops, the build-up shop, the massive shops that were built to when the shipyard moved up the gear to build the big oil tankers, the very large crude carriers. Most of those buildings on the film, and moving up in a sense from the shop floor, the Brown Bomber, Davy Hunter, if anyone remembers Davy. Davy died in the Golden Trough, and after this is where the directors and senior managers died, and Davy would be seen after he finished his lunch, not walking down the Queen's Road, but literally marching down the Queen's Road with his long brown coat on. And another guy, the window to watch. There used to be a shop at the corner of Royal Avenue and High Street, John Collier's, and there was a shipyard manager called Monty Collier. So Monty got the window to watch. And some years ago there was a cowboy series on television, Alias Smith and Jones, and there are two guys got that label, two management guys, one of whom is still living, Ted Hayes and Jim Smith. And then going further back to the hierarchy of Horn the Wolf, Sir Frederick Ribbick, he got the nickname King Concrete. And the reason for that, Horn the Wolf for years made reasonable profits, but he ploughed the profits into the ground. And the UK, I mean, I've been to other shipyards in the UK, and generally what you will find are tender services. Horn the Wolf had a brilliant working service. So as I say, there's a lot there that hasn't come out in the film, and this is the point Frankie's making. There's a lot more to come out, and the tragedy is the people with those memories, they're not staying around, and unfortunately I would myself one of them.
Thank you. Well, that's why they, and to have that rally call, hopefully to kind of preserve, those voices. Steel Chest is available on the Northern Ireland Digital Film Archive online, so you can watch it again or you can share it with friends or family. Thanks to them, thanks to Film Hub NI and the Northern Ireland Science Festival for today's screening, and to the Strand Arts Centre, and to our very special guests, Frank and Victor. Thank you very much.